While the world chases headlines in the West, a silent revolution is reshaping the global South. This is Africa in 2025, bold, turbulent, innovative, and about to change the world. All right, settle in folks. Welcome to the show, or as I like to call it, what on earth is actually happening on Earth? Because let's be honest, most news cycles feel like they're stuck on a loop about, I don't know, a billionaire's new haircut or something equally groundbreaking. Meanwhile, an entire continent, is not just stirring, it's rewriting the script for the 21st century. And we're not talking about those old, tired narratives of Africa needs saving. No. We're talking about Africa, with challenges so complex they make your family dinners look like a walk in the park. You see, 2025 isn't just another year. For Africa, it's a pressure cooker, a launch pad, and a crossroads all at once. We've got geopolitical chess games that would make Kasparov sweat, economic booms that defy global slowdowns, and cultural waves so powerful they're reshaping identities worldwide. And yes, there are some serious, gut-wrenching crises too, because progress is never a straight line, is it? It's more like that one uncle at the wedding, a little chaotic, a bit unpredictable, but ultimately, he's going somewhere interesting. So, forget what we're diving deep into the top 10 trends that are not just shaping Africa's future, but are sending ripples across the entire globe. From the front lines of conflict, to the boardrooms of high finance, from ancient rifts in the earth to brand new digital highways, this is the Africa that demands your attention. Buckle up, because class is in session, and trust me, you don't want to be late for this one. So let's start with something heavy, because sometimes you gotta eat your vegetables before dessert. We're talking about the Sahel region. Now, for many people, the Sahel might just be a word they vaguely remember from geography class, right? Oh yeah, that bit below the Sahara, but right now it's a region that's, to put it mildly, on fire, and not in a this party is lit kind of way. We're talking about a humanitarian and security crisis that is spiraling, and the world seems to have its noise-canceling headphones on. It's like your neighbor's house is burning down and everyone's too busy watching cat videos. The situation has been complex for years, a cocktail of climate change, poverty, governance issues, and then, boom, extremist groups waltz in like they own the place. Groups like ISIS, Sahel, and others affiliated with Al-Qaeda are not just surviving, they're thriving, expanding their influence, particularly as international dynamics shift. You've probably heard about the US forces pulling out of Niger. Now, I'm not here to debate the politics of that decision, that's a whole other show, maybe a 12-part miniseries. But the reality on the ground is that it leaves a vacuum, and these extremist groups are more than happy to fill it. Like that awkward silence at a party that someone inevitably fills with a terrible joke. The human cost? It's staggering. In 2025 alone, we're looking at thousands, tens of thousands, potentially hundreds of thousands displaced. These are families, farmers, children whose lives are upended, forced to flee with nothing but the clothes on their backs. Imagine that. One day you're tending your fields, the next you're a refugee in your own country. Alright, next up, let's talk about something that might give you a little deja vu, and not the cool kind from The Matrix. We're talking about Mpox, formerly known as monkeypox. Remember when that was briefly the headline, then kind of faded away for many in the West? Well, in parts of Africa, it never really left. In fact, it's escalating into a full-blown crisis. And it feels like we're watching a terrifying rerun of a movie we swore we'd learned our lessons from. It's like, didn't we just go through this with another virus? Did we collectively get amnesia? The numbers are grim. We're looking at over 52,000 cases and nearly 1,800 deaths, primarily concentrated in the Democratic Republic of Congo, but with significant spread. These aren't just statistics, these are people suffering from a painful, debilitating disease. And the scariest part? A new, more dangerous strain has emerged, particularly affecting children. It's a nightmare scenario, a deadlier variant, a vulnerable population, and a healthcare system already stretched to its limits. It's like trying to fight a 5-alarm fire with a squirt gun. And here's where the deja vu really kicks in: vaccines. Remember the scramble for COVID vaccines? The inequity, the hoarding? Well, guess what? It's happening again. Okay, let's shift gears from the front lines of health and conflict to the high-stakes world of finance. Because, let's be real, money makes the world go round, or in some cases grind to a halt. All eyes are on a new figure at the helm of the African Development Bank, AFDB, Mr. Sidi Ould Tah. Now this isn't just some cushy banking job, this man has arguably one of the toughest gigs on the continent right now. Think of him as the captain of a massive ship navigating through a hurricane, a kraken, and a Bermuda Triangle of economic uncertainty, all at once. Why is his role so crucial in 2025? Well, the economic landscape for many African nations is, shall we say, a bit dicey. We've got rising debt levels, a hangover from global shocks like COVID and the war in Ukraine, which jacked up interest rates. Then add to that some traditional funding partners like the US are tightening their purse strings. It's like your rich uncle who used to bail you out suddenly decides he's into fiscal responsibility right when your rent is due. The pressure is immense. The AFDB is a cornerstone institution for the continent. It's meant to drive development, fund crucial infrastructure, support agriculture, and basically help African economies grow and become more resilient. So, Mr. Ould isn't just managing budgets, he's shaping destinies. His decisions, his strategies, his ability to rally support and find innovative financing solutions will have a direct impact on millions of lives. Will he be able to navigate these treacherous waters? Can he unlock new avenues for investment? Can he help countries manage their debt without sacrificing essential services? It's a monumental task. Alright, now for something that sounds like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie, but I promise you it's real. Scientists are saying that Africa, the entire continent, is literally splitting in two. Yes, you heard that right. It's not a metaphor for political division, though there's plenty of that to go around. We're talking about geology, baby. A massive slow-motion separation that could eventually create a whole new ocean. It's like the Earth is going through a very, very slow and dramatic breakup. It's not you, Africa, it's me, also Africa. This isn't some new, shocking discovery that just popped up. The East African Rift System has been known for a while. It's a series of deep cracks in the Earth's crust, stretching thousands of kilometers, from the Afar region in Ethiopia down through Kenya, Tanzania, and Mozambique. But what's causing this continental drift on steroids? Scientists point to a superplume of molten rock rising from deep within the Earth's mantle. Think of it as a giant underground lava lamp pushing the tectonic plates apart. It's nature's way of saying, I need some space. Now. Now don't pack your bags for a beachfront property in central Ethiopia just yet. Okay, so we've talked about some heavy stuff, some earth-shattering, literally stuff. Now let's pivot to some seriously good news, because amidst all the headlines that scream crisis, there's a region in Africa that's not just surviving, it's thriving. I'm talking about East Africa. While the global economy is doing its best impression of a sloth on a lazy Sunday, countries like Rwanda, Ethiopia, and Kenya are projected to grow over 5% this year. That's not just growth, that's a sprint. It's like they heard there was a global slowdown and said, nah, we're good. What's fueling this economic surge? It's not just one thing, it's a potent cocktail of factors. First up, technology. East Africa, particularly Kenya, has been a pioneer in mobile money and fintech. They didn't just adopt tech, they adapted it, innovated with it, and made it work for their unique contexts. This has unleashed a wave of entrepreneurship and financial inclusion that's transforming economies from the grassroots up. Alright, let's talk about history. Not the dusty old textbook kind, but living, breathing history that's sparking a fire under a new generation across Africa. From Ghana to South Africa, from Nigeria to Benin, there's a powerful movement afoot: cultural reclamation, and the demand for reparations. Young Africans are looking at their heritage, their identity, and saying, we want it all back. The stories, the artifacts, the dignity. It's like finding out your grandpa's prized watch was stolen, and now you're going to get it back, and maybe an apology too. For centuries, African art, artifacts, and cultural treasures were looted, plundered, and carted off to museums and private collections in Europe and North America. We're talking about priceless pieces, sacred objects, items that are deeply intertwined with the history and identity of entire peoples. The Benin bronzes are probably the most famous example, but there are countless others. For years, the argument from Western museums was, oh, we're taking good care of them. You wouldn't have the facilities, which you know is a bit rich coming from the people who did the taking in the first place. But the tide is turning. African nations and activists have been campaigning for decades, and finally, we're starting to see some movement. Let's talk about something that affects every single person on this planet: climate change. And specifically, how Africa, a continent that has contributed the least to global emissions, is often bearing the brunt of its impact: droughts, floods, extreme weather, you name it. But here's the twist: Africa's vast forests, its savannas, its mangroves, are also a massive part of the solution. These ecosystems are carbon sinks, absorbing billions of tons of CO2, and that, my friends, translates into money, big money, in the form of carbon credits. Now, carbon credit markets are a bit like the Wild West of climate finance. The idea is simple. Polluters can offset their emissions by investing in projects that reduce or remove carbon from the atmosphere, like planting trees or preserving forests. And Africa, with its incredible biodiversity and natural resources, is sitting on a potential gold mine, or rather, a green gold mine, worth trillions. Alright, let's talk about a relationship that's been blossoming, or some might say, strategically cultivated for decades: China and Africa. For the 35th year in a row, China's foreign minister made Africa his first overseas trip of the year. 35 years. That's commitment. That's like your friend who misses your birthday, even if you sometimes forget theirs. It signals something pretty significant about how Beijing views the continent. And let me tell you, it's not just about pandas and goodwill tours anymore. For a long time, China's engagement in Africa was primarily visible through massive infrastructure projects: roads, railways, ports, stadiums, government buildings, the Belt and Road Initiative stuff. And look, a lot of that infrastructure was, and is, desperately needed. Many African countries will tell you that China was willing to fund projects when Western institutions were hesitant or came with too many strings attached. It was a pragmatic partnership. Africa got infrastructure, China got resources and political allies. But in 2025, the game is changing. It's evolving. Now let's talk about Africa's most powerful, most dynamic, and often most underestimated asset: its youth. Africa has the youngest population in the world. We're talking about hundreds of millions of young people, connected, educated, increasingly, and frankly, impatient. They're not just waiting for change to happen, they're grabbing the microphone, storming the stage, and demanding to be the architects of their own future. This isn't just a demographic bulge, it's a full-blown youthquake. For too long, African politics in many places was seen as the domain of the old guard, the big men who'd been around forever. But that's changing, and fast. Young Africans are leveraging social media, art, music, and grassroots activism to challenge the status quo, to demand accountability, to fight corruption, and to push for better governance. Think of movements like #EndSARS in Nigeria, that was driven by young people fed up with police brutality, and it shook the entire country. It's like the kids finally got tired of their parents controlling the TV remote and decided to build their own streaming service. Elections across the continent are becoming battlegrounds for this new generation. They're not just voting, though youth turnout is a huge factor. They're running for office, they're organizing voter education drives, they're using technology to monitor elections and expose irregularities. Alright, for our final trend, let's talk about something that consistently blows people's preconceived notions about Africa out of the water: technology. If you still think Africa is just catching up in the tech race, my friend, you are seriously late to the party. The party already happened, and Africa is now hosting the after party, and it's inventing new kinds of music while it's at it. We're talking about a continent that is leapfrogging, skipping entire stages of technological development that other regions went through, and jumping straight into the future. Think about mobile money. M-Pesa in Kenya was a global game changer. While people in some of the wealthiest countries were still writing checks or fumbling with bank transfers, millions of Africans were sending and receiving money, paying bills, and accessing financial services using basic feature phones. They didn't wait for traditional banking infrastructure to reach everyone. They innovated around it. That's the essence of leapfrogging, turning a challenge, lack of banking infrastructure, into an opportunity for radical innovation. And it's not just mobile money. Look at renewable energy. While some parts of the world are still debating the merits of coal, many African communities are bypassing the old centralized grid model and going straight to decentralized solar power. Africa is not the future, it's the now, and if you're not paying attention, you're already behind. So, there you have it. 10 snapshots, 10 powerful currents shaping not just a continent, but our entire world. From the heartbreaking struggles in the Sahel to the mind-bending geological shifts, from the roar of economic lions in the east to the quiet revolution of carbon credits, Africa in 2025 is a continent of incredible complexity, profound challenges, and breathtaking innovation. It's a place where history is being confronted head-on, where youth are not just asking for a seat at the table, but are building a whole new one, and where technology isn't just adopted, it's reinvented. The old tired narratives of a continent defined solely by poverty or conflict, they just don't cut it anymore. They were never the full story, and today, they are actively misleading. What we're seeing is a continent forging its own path on its own terms, with a dynamism and a creativity that is simply undeniable. Yes, the road ahead is bumpy, there are huge obstacles, and progress is never guaranteed.